Starfield's been out for a while, and it's time to go across some advanced tips and some secrets that I've come across during my 5 playthroughs. We've got a massive speed boost, outpost fixes, exploration things, and more. Let's go! Let me know in the comments how many of these you didn't know, and let me know any others you have come across. We'll start with my personal favorite one, and that's movement enhancements. So firstly, when you're looking at your boost packs and which boost pack to pick, during most of my playthroughs, especially during like the review period, I was trying to decide like what sort of boost pack I was going to run, and I was looking at the skip pack, and it's like, why would I even run this? It's just like a worse basic pack. It says it increased maneuverability, but like, it doesn't, and I didn't really understand what the purpose of it was. But if you go into the settings and into your bindings and the jump key, if you bind the alternate key here to something else, it actually has an entirely different form of boost. It'll actually propel you forward rather than up. And this is the same for any boost pack, right? It's not just a skip capacity, it works for all of them. And that speed that it throws you at and the distance is significantly more than if you were just using like the typical spacebar. You can see in these comparisons, right, where I've like put a rug down here and I'm jumping off, there's a big difference between that first rug where I'm landing, which is just like the basic spacebar jump, and the second jump, which is that alt jump using the skip capacity pack. And it works for all of the different packs, right? It's just the skip capacity one is like the most obvious to see this because it's like that sort of short burst that propels you forward. It just makes exploring so much quicker and more enjoyable because, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I just like boost pack everywhere, and being able to like do this like all the time and actually propel myself forward has been significantly better. But there are other ways to improve your movement speed as well. The first is via AMP, which is a craftable chem that you can make at any chem station, which will give you a 35% increase to your movement speed for 2 minutes, which is very solid. Like, absolutely would definitely recommend using this. Anytime you can increase your movement speed, because we don't have vehicles, is obviously fantastic. If you don't want to make these, or you just want like another alternative, if you go to the Red Mile, you can grab the Runner's Rush, which will give you a 20% movement speed increase for 3 minutes. So not as fast, but for a longer period of time, plus the 25% O2 recovery, so you can like sprint for longer. So they both sort of even each other out, right? One's a little bit faster movement speed, while the other has better O2 recovery. But either of these options are absolutely worth grabbing just to increase that movement speed so you can zoom around better, because I mean, we're always zooming around in Starfield trying to get to locations and just like traveling around. So it's definitely been a beneficial thing to grab. The next is for your outposts themselves. Now, I don't want to cover anything that I've covered in other videos, especially like my outpost guide that went through a ton of stuff for that. But one thing that I actually think I mentioned in that video that I found significantly annoying is that when you try to place items and you like rotate them, the rotation speed is so fast and you can't like get the intricacies of like lining things up perfectly. Pivot! But actually you can. It's in the settings again, under controls, there's outpost item rotation speed. Now you can change this. Originally it's at 5%, just knock this all the way down to 1%, honestly. And then you can actually use this to be able to place things correctly with the right orientation that you're looking for. Another tip for outposts as well is, you know how you can pick up items, right? Like just by holding the action key, you can like pick them up, you can rotate them and place them down for like trying to get that sort of clutter feel for your outpost. You don't actually have to do it this way. If you just like throw the item on the ground, whatever it is, and then bring up your modifier mode in your build menu, you can actually still pick up that item and then place it using the build menu exactly where you want it to go, rather than having to try and finagle around with like the pick and rotate options that you get just from like using the physics in the game. So there's other ways you can do that to make it a little bit more beneficial. This is a common one that you may know, you may not know, but you can actually sort of farm legendaries in a way. So by going to a location and entering the location with your difficulty completely maxed out, more legendary or elite enemies will spawn, and they have a higher potential chance of dropping higher quality and legendary gear. But to save you the headache of having to actually fight these enemies on that difficulty, once they've actually spawned, you can lower the difficulty back down. Their health and damage will reset, but that enemy is still the exact same enemy, so their loot table will still be the same, and you have a higher chance of actually getting that higher quality epics and legendary gear. This I thought was going to get patched, and it hasn't been patched yet. Maybe it'll get patched, but I've tested it on multiple like runs with the same area, just going through, and on the ultra hard like difficulty, running this through and then essentially entering the area on the hard difficulty, then lowering it down to normal, killing all these guys, and then testing it by going back to that quick save and then running it just completely on the normal difficulty. Basically every single time on the hard difficulty, I at least got one legendary, and in 10 runs, I only got one legendary once on normal. So it definitely still works. They may may patch it, but it's just worth pointing out that if you're trying to farm legendaries, this is a fantastic way to do. And speaking of gear in that similar way, weapons actually have tiers. Now, I didn't realize this for a long time, but when you're looking at weapons, they often say things like, you know, an assassin's weapon or what have you, but there is certain categories listed under there that actually reference the tier of the weapon. So initially, like there's like the basic tier, which is just the weapon itself. Then on top of that, there is calibrated, refined, and advanced being the top. So paying attention to this will notice how sometimes weapons just seem to do like more physical damage, and it's because of this tier. It'll say if it's calibrated or refined or advanced. And you can see in this example here, I didn't actually have any calibrated versions. I couldn't find one, but you can see that the damage numbers actually significantly increased. Even though this is just a basic Grendel, that actual physical damage is significantly more. So this is really important. Again, if you're looking at, say, legendaries and you come across weapons and things that aren't as powerful, like if they've got really good legendary effects, but they're just like a basic tier, you'll later in the game find that just like an advanced weapon that's significantly more damage. And it's like, well, probably want to switch to that. And it's also worthwhile to farm legendaries in that way to try and get them on that advanced tier so you can keep them for longer. So pay attention to that, as it makes a significant difference. It also affects armor in the exact same way. Armor ratings are exactly the same. And while we're talking about weapons, did you know that with electromagnetic guns, you can actually charge them? So electromagnetic guns, as you know, if you shoot enemies, you'll like knock them out. If you hold down like the shoot button and then shoot, you'll actually deal more EM damage to them, and they have like that charged effect. And in some cases, you can just like one shot knock them out by charging the EM weapon rather than like tapping it. I don't know why it doesn't tell you this, and it doesn't even make it clear that you can charge them. There's no like visual indicator except the gun has like a tiny little shake, but you can actually charge them in that way. You may remember in the Skyrim days how you could just like put a bucket on someone's head and then stealth around and steal stuff from them. In Starfield, it is kind of similar, but a little bit different in that the chameleon armor allows you to literally just stand in front of people and steal things like they don't even notice you. Now, you need at least 2 pieces of chameleon armor. You can't just have the one. One will make you invisible, but you're still detectable for some reason. If you have 2, you are completely undetectable. Even if you're standing literally in front of the person, you can just steal things as much as you like. Now, once you've stolen all of those goods, if you want to remove the stolen tags, or if you do actually get arrested, you don't actually lose them, you can either sell them to a vendor like the Trade Authority and then immediately buy them back and they'll lose the stolen tag. Or if it's just like a weapon or an armor, you can actually go to a crafting table and mod that piece of gear and it will lose that tag. It just saves you that money. Obviously, you lose the materials for doing the crafting, but it saves you the income of having to, say, sell it and buy it back and that sort of a thing. But weapons and armor, instead, you can do this by even adding a mod, removing a mod, any of that, and it will actually remove the stolen tag as well. And as another note for the stealth players, when you're wearing armor, even if it's like hidden because, you know, you're in a settlement or something like that, it still has a sound, and it makes a ton of sound because you're literally wearing a giant spacesuit. So take that off if you're trying to do any stealth activities. When you're exploring planets and trying to max out the survey, there are sea creatures that are super easy to miss. The only way well, not the only way, but the main way you'll find them is landing on coastal areas, because you can't land right in the ocean, right? And when you're looking at these biomes, if you are sort of like trying to land right on the border of the land and the ocean, sometimes the biome name will change to have in brackets coast. Now, if you go to these locations, you'll actually find like, you know, a beach and be able to find those sea creatures just swimming around in the water. You can jump in the water and go and get them if you want as well, but worth noting that the same with flying creatures, sea creatures, you can actually scan from ages away even without upgrading your scanner. So you don't have to get close to them, though you could just kill them, right, to get the experience. And then when you kill things, it instantly scans them as well. But just worth pointing out that it's a super frustrating thing for exploration, that sometimes it'll say like you're 100% explored and you can't find something. Chances are it's probably a sea creature. To expand on exploring even more, when you're looking at planets in the star map, when you're looking at the 2 sides of the planet, right, the side that looks at the sun versus the dark side of the planet, if you land on the side that's actually facing the sun, it'll be daytime on that planet, compared to on the other side, it'll be nighttime. So if you want to explore a planet at daytime or just want to spend time in the day, like personally, I hate nighttime in games. I don't know why, it's just a thing that I do. But if you want to explore during the day, land on the daytime side of the planet. And you can also tell which planets or systems you have actually visited before on the star map. If it's like a glowing white sphere, then you've been there. If it's just a white sphere, you haven't been there. And if it's a red sphere, then you can't actually get there, or you haven't actually explored a route to even find that planet. When mining as well, you can right click your mining laser to like charge up the beam so that it deals more damage if you're using using it in combat or actually mine things faster. This is super useful for some of those like higher tier mining deposits that take forever to mine. If you actually right click, charge up your mining laser, it takes significantly less time. Now in combat, there is multiple healing items that most people haven't realized. So obviously there are med packs, and it's pretty simple what that does, but there's also emergency kits and trauma kits. Trauma kits will give you 10% of your health back, whereas emergency kits will give you 15%. So you can clearly see this by actually just looking at the items and using them, and obviously you want to use emergency packs here because they give you more of your health back, but it is only an over the time effect. So food can instantly regenerate health, although it is a little bit like it's not heaps of health, it's only a little bit, and you can buff all of these via the medicine skill. But looking out for emergency kits, it gives you much more health than med kits, by the way. You also shouldn't use ship technicians to register new ships. You can actually do this from the ship screen. There's a little register option and you can do this. This is significantly cheaper than doing it from the vendors. I don't know why. To me, I think it's to do with the commercial skill, as that does affect the economy, because the more commercial skill you have, the higher the ship's actual, sell price, which would then affect the registering fee, I think, but I don't rightly know. But it's just cheaper every single time if you just go into the ship screen and register it from there, rather than actually doing it from the ship technician themselves. And speaking of ships, certain ship parts are hidden by your level. So you can see in this example here at level 15, there is like virtually very little amount of ship parts, especially weapons. And then if I just somehow become level 300, I don't know how that happened, you can see that the amount of ship parts is significantly more expanded than if I was still at level 15. So it's worth pointing that out, that don't invest too early in your ship as well, because so many more parts will become available to you the further levels you go. I've got one more fun one for you guys, which I didn't realize until like my third time through the Vanguard mission. But when you go and do the Vanguards, and if you go to the pilot mission, there's actually a terminal there that you can click on, which will add debug tools. So you can add an ally or increase your damage or your shields. But if you click the fourth option, you can actually hack the system and give you these buffs permanently for the entire run, which will then allow you to complete tier 6 and, get that good feeling from Commander Twala as he tells you that you did so well, even though you cheated the system. But it's another thing to point out as well. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Anything you guys have come across. Thank you guys for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is NorZZa, and I hope you have a great day.